5:30. Call to order the regular school board meeting of the Madison Central School District on this Monday, December 10th, 2018. Mr. Brooks will record the members present or absent, and we're all here, and in person even on there. So we do have a quorum. Next item is item number 4, Pledge of Allegiance. So I'd like everyone to please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you much. I believe there are no changes to the agenda, so at this point in time, I would entertain a motion for approval of the agenda. Okay, Mrs. Sims has the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, by Mr. Hanemichael. Further questions or discussion on approval of the agenda? Hearing none, all in favor of approval of the agenda signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Declare that has passed. Next is our consent agenda, which is items 7 through 10. We have the minutes of the November 12th meeting, and Mr. Miller and Mrs. Sims and myself went through the bills. You can tell it isn't the start of the school year, because there aren't quite as many of them. Any questions or anything?
I do not.
Okay. Our financials are up there also. Another great month for the health fund on there. Then on to personnel actions.
You'll see the personnel actions. We have some requests for hire. Chris Francis as a middle school paraprofessional at $11.65 an hour. As an elementary custodian, Richard Caldwell. He will be replacing Katrina Smith, who is actually moving to the weekend position, because actually Graham Hiller has resigned. She just graduated from DSU, so she'll be moving, and so Richard will be replacing Katrina, and then Katrina's actually sliding into the weekend position of Ashley's. And Brandy Baker to fill a spot in the middle school. Both those are at $13.15 per hour, and we are back to full staff now in the custodial. And Andrew Fegan as a middle school, high school teacher for halftime for English second language instruction for half days.
Okay. And the resignation of Ashley. which
Yep,
we already
that's
talked
a
about.
resignation.
All right, let's move on then to the final item in the consent agenda, item number 10, approval of an open enrollment application 19-12.
And that'll be for the start of the second semester. It's for a 9th grade student. We would recommend approving that.
Okay. So that takes care of the consent agenda. Is there someone who would like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Okay, Mrs. Schultz, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Miller. Further questions or discussion on the consent agenda?
One thing I do want, like with the open enrollments that come in after drop dead, there's no financial support for that, right?
Nope, but there's 2 different times now when you can actually have a open enrollment take place. It has to be in by a certain date in August, and then it has to be in for the start of the second semester if you want.
Oh, okay.
You don't have to. It still falls back in the school. This is someone who had met, and for class offerings and other things is the event, and then I believe the siblings will be joining next year as well.
Okay. Further questions or discussion on the items in the consent agenda? Hearing none, all in favor of approval of the consent agenda, which includes items 7 through 10, signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Declare those have passed. On to item number 11, I don't think there's anyone here who is going to address us. So on to number 12, the administrator's report. We have Dr. Cook's written report with pictures again. Mr. Jorgensen, do you want to start, or?
Sure, just a few items. First, I want to congratulate Mr. Gross and the Earl and Turk team at the state event that was postponed a week. But we had 6 students that scored a superior at the state events. They did very well. So congrats to the Oral and Turk team for their state competition. School Messenger is the phone service we use for sending out messages. Rhonda's been working on that. We now have it set up. We have a number of Spanish-speaking parents as well, so we have it so that when a message goes out, it'll go out in English. It'll also go out in Spanish to those folks as well, as long as they've identified that that's the language. So the students may speak English fine, but maybe the parents don't, so they'll get the message in their language. Policy updates tonight, 2 for a second reading and 1 for a first reading. And I just want to touch base on the governor's address. That address was last Tuesday. Many of you, I'm sure, saw that the governor proposed a 2.3% increase in funding to K-12 schools, which is what the law requires because it's CPI or 3%, whichever is less, and right now CPI is 2.3. So he proposed the 2.3. If you recall, last year the CPI was 1.7. However, K-12 schools received 1% ongoing and 0.7 was one-time funding. So really we're 0.7 behind as far as following the law from the last couple of years. So hopefully, and there was 0, the governor put 0 down for revenue for the online tax now that will be collected. Because there's everything across the board from it's going to be this amount to it's going to be this amount. So I think he left an opportunity for the new governor to maybe utilize those funds as the new governor sees fit, assuming they come in right. So even though the budget's done, now it'll be up to Governor-elect Noem. She'll look at that budget, and she can have a totally different budget that she proposes too. So, but I do believe there's opportunity there with budgeting 0 for any income of the internet tax. That I think there could be some dollars there. So it'll be interesting to see where that goes. So we'll be watching that closely. And the last thing I want to touch base on is Aptigee. We've been working on creating our new website and smartphone app. We plan to have it up and running to roll it out right after Christmas. I've asked Mr. Millage, Mr. Millage and Mr. Forrester have been doing a lot of the work on it, obviously. And I'm just going to have them give a quick update on where we're at and somewhat what it will look like.
Yeah, so this will be the template that we use as far as what the website will look like. This over here in the left-hand section, this will be kind of where we could put the welcome to Madison, and then if we have any general announcements, a 2-hour late start, we can put that in big bold and let everybody know that there's a 2-hour late start. We have room for little news articles, then a live feed. This is where, if we set it up, we can have it. So in Mrs. Green's class, we're working on this big project, and we want everybody to come and watch. She can actually almost kind of like tweet, but then it has to get authorized before it can actually get published. So it's all kind of locked down until it's all approved by either the principal or Mr. Joel says he doesn't want anything to approve it, so it'll be under the principals.
It's called delegation.
There you go. That's right. And then there's just the events, and this is where as the time goes on, with events will pop up. The app. This will be what the app will look like. So in the store, you'll be looking for this. There's a few different. It basically just kind of mirrors the site. I mean, you can basically do everything from the app that you could do from the actual website too. And the site itself will be mobile friendly, so you'll be able to view the site if you don't have the app. With the app, you'll get push notifications too. So in the future, when we're all done with School Messenger, we can flip over to the Aptigee portion of it. And so we call off school, you'll get like a little push notification saying, hey, we're calling off school, or hey, there's no school. And it'll all be within the app, so it will be a one-stop shop. So.
And the app too, if they click on a link, it won't be trying to go through the website to find it, to drop it down to whatever. When you click on that, it'll open up whatever it is, whether it's the staff I don't recognize here, but
So
it should be much
more user-friendly.
User-friendly off the smartphone for people to get information.
Well, that, like the athletic department uses.
So they don't have like our school module, but they can incorporate it. It will be another one of those little tiles. It'll be another one of the lines right here. It'll be an our school. It'll redirect you to the our school, and then the our school is actually mobile friendly, so it'll kind of tie in real nice. So.
It's the same app that Millbank has been using in Harrisburg and
Erickson, I think, has it.
Mhm.
Newell even has it. So, it should be very user-friendly for parents, community members. I just think people use their phone way more anymore than they do the computer to go access information.
Well, the push notification will be nice versus the website and trying to sort through what's new and what isn't, I think will be really fast.
Will there be a link to parent portal on there? Or will that be different?
Yes, I think that would be like the art school where it's just a module. I mean, it's not, like built right in, but they can incorporate it.
So as we get closer, like after the first years when we're gonna try to get it rolled out, we're gonna have it, on the radio, we'll talk about, I mentioned a little bit this morning already, and then our programs, we're gonna have it. We talked about maybe even put something up on the video board here, go to the app store to get the app if you want it, type of thing, and just try to get the information out as best we can in as many different ways as we can.
So,
Further questions there, or comments for Steve or Joel? Anything else, Mr. Jorgensen?
Nope,
Okay, I've got a couple of items. Steve, would you grab one of those two tabs? We can start with whichever. Okay, we have talked about possibly doing some school board training through ASBSD. Had the opportunity to visit with Randy Rohr out in Pier, and what we kind of decided is the gavel training seems to cut across the gamut. And if you kind of look at who should attend, it covers new board members, first-term board members, board presidents, experienced board members, and it could even include the superintendent on there. Randy would be willing to come out to Madison and do that with us. It also would probably give us, if we all were here, a gold in the all standings, which has been a target that we've been talking about doing on there. And I visited with him about dates. He has a couple, I think Monday nights may be our best nights to do it. He has both the Monday, the 4th of February, which he could come, or he also could come on the 25th of February. Is there one of those dates that might be the best that the group would prefer? I guess first of all, are we interested? And second of all, is there a date that works better than the other? Lori?
February 25th is girls' basketball regions.
Yep,
So I don't.
but that's for 3rd and 4th place.
Right,
Yep,
but.
yep. So maybe the 4th would be a better,
Yeah. I mean, not that, I don't know.
notice they didn't say business managers up there,
you can have it.
I just saw it.
but. 4th of February, he has that date available. Does that seem to look good for people right now? Okay, I'll go ahead and get a hold of him and we'll confirm the date and we'll tentatively plan on that for the 4th of February. It's about, we'll start again at probably 5:30, our normal meeting time, and 9 or 9:30 we would wrap up. It's about a 4-hour thing, but we'll be sure we have something to eat also, so. On that. All right, let's go to the other tab. I don't like that first picture that's up there, but maybe we can scroll quickly past that.
can we zoom in a little bit?
Lori thought that, and this came out in the blog last night that Tyler put out, this was the results of the delegate assembly, which was held in Pierre in November, and Lori was our delegate as a part of that, and she was holding up yellow cards, either, we don't have two-color cards, you can hold up yellow for A or yellow for nay. And if you want to just keep, well, let's leave that right there for a second, Steve. The weather was a little bit of a challenge, especially for the people who are in the northern part of the state, and particularly northeast part of the state. But we had a good cross-representation, and we were able to basically approve 25 or 35 resolutions and our 12 standing positions. And then we added one new standing position that was brought in from the floor, and that was diversity and equity. And if you scroll down a little further, Steve, it talks about what each of those standing positions are and the 10 new resolutions. Those are things they talked about at the region meetings. It's quite an event, actually, to see that representation and hear what the folks are thinking from across the state. But we're pretty much in agreement when it all comes together as a part of that. So, anything else, Laura, you want to add?
No, other than just to, they kind of prioritize the four
Yep.
resolutions, are four areas that they would really try to work on. The school funding, of course.
Yep.
The state aid inflation, like what Joel was talking about, with the 2.3 or the 3% or the inflation factor. The capital outlay adjustments.
Yep.
Mental health, behavior issues. We're not, nobody's alone in that, there's issues in all the schools. Alternative instruction,
Yeah.
oversight,
Yeah.
that's an area that, it's very interesting to me. Some people are extremely passionate about the oversight need for homeschool individuals, and not talking about the homeschool individuals that have legitimate programs established, but those that are using that avenue to maybe just get out of school. So it was interesting.
I have one other item. Tomorrow is Mr. Brooks's birthday. So I figured we better do a little bit of celebrating. We'll let him start, and we'll pass those around, and even we brought enough for the audience.
And it's others' birthdays also.
Uh-huh. I understand that. Someone,
I quit having birthdays a long time ago.
Mine is in February.
no, I know.
February
Is
4th?
it your birthday?
When's yours?
February 21st?
February 21st.
When's yours, Steve?
Mine is, I was born on a day of greatness for Mitch Brooks.
But you will be at work tomorrow. We don't believe in giving days off for birthdays. I just thought I would, let you know on that, Mr. Brooks.
That's fun, that birthday treats as meetings.
It is fun. When's your birthday, Tom?
24 September.
Well, thank you.
I would have baked something, but we don't have anything left in the house to bake with, so.
Is there another one tomorrow too, or no?
Yeah, who's the other one tomorrow?
Well, no, I said Lori too, but that was just wrong in my notes.
Oh,
Yeah, that was
okay.
3. I'm thinking, how did that beat that?
Maybe she has 2 of you, though.
No, I didn't think it was Lori's, but I knew Lori's birthday.
Yeah.
Well, happy birthday, Mr.
Thank you, I
Brooks.
appreciate that.
So
And
now
Steve.
Nelson.
the other 12 aren't for you.
Oh.
Nobody won any out there? Oh, my goodness.
One day ground.
Yeah.
I'm never
You got
gonna get
one?
it, if you keep bringing treats, I'm never gonna get him to stay home and.
That's a good deal, man.
It's your turn next time.
He'll be all ready to run for school board someday.
All right, let's go on to number 13 then, approval of a 5-year school resource officer contract with the city of Madison.
Bringing before you a new contract. As you know, the county has bowed out, and that will be as of the end of December. We met with Commissioner Waldner and Chief of Police Meyer over here, that we've met a couple different times on it, and we've come to what we feel is a good agreement for the school and for the city. In 2019, it would be a 50-50 share, and in 2020, we'd go to 55 and 45 for the city, and then in 21, 22, and 23, it'd be a 60-40. And I believe that would mirror the DSU agreement as well. And that was calculating in a 3% increase, may or may not be a 3% increase, but that was just trying to calculate out each year.
That is, yeah, I'd always like to estimate on the high side. So those figures are included with a 3% wage increase every year over the next 5 years. It's been a while since we've seen that at the city, but hopefully the economy stays strong and we do get it. But that would be my best guess. And yeah, it does mirror the same agreement that we currently have with DSU at the 60/40. We just kind of feathered it out there a little bit to help with the economic impact that you guys will be seeing over the next few years.
Further questions, comments?
Who is DSU's SRO?
Heath Abraham.
Oh, it is, yeah.
Yeah.
I think from the district's perspective, this has been one of the best things that we've ever done to aid our students, our administration, and our teaching staff also.
Officer Gant does a really nice job for us.
And certainly kudos to Scott Peterson, where he resides today, for giving us the momentum and the getting together with the county and the city and the school district to make this first agreement happen and move forward with it. But it certainly has been a wonderful arrangement for us. With that, we would need a motion to approve in a second. Okay, Tammy has the move and Rob has the second, okay? Further questions or discussion? Thank you, Justin, for working through this and making it work for us also.
Glad to help.
It has been wonderful. Further questions, discussion? Hearing none? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I was gonna say, do I have to ask? One more time. All opposed, same sign. Declare the motion has carried. We'll sign the copies here. Do you want us to sign those now so you can take them with you?
We'll pick them up in the morning.
Okay.
And this will go in front of the city commission next Monday, so we
Okay.
should have everything finalized. So it should take effect July of 19, correct? Of 2019.
January.
Correct.
Our first payment will be in July.
There you go. That's what I was after. Thank you.
All right, very good.
First 6 months are free.
Yeah. It's the next 6 that'll get you.
All right, item number
Thanks,
14. Thank you very much, Justin.
Have a good evening.
Thank Ben also for us. Will do. First reading of policy, I love reading these. EHADA-R, Administrative Regulations for Information Security, Acceptable Use, SIPA webpage development.
And you can see if Steve's been working on this quite a little bit. We've had it at our admin meeting at least 2, if not 3 times we've gone over this. Some of the terminology has changed, so Steve's gone through and put in the correct, instead of internet acceptable use, it's information security acceptable use. Steve, you want to touch on this? So it was 2010 last time this was looked at, so we're just trying to get it so it mirrors where we're at today.
Right. So, like you said, it hadn't been updated since 2010, so we thought we better update it a little bit. Basically, it takes 2 different policies and then it puts them together, and then it basically requires the parents to have read the Information Security Acceptable Use and SIPA agreement. And before it was called the Internet Acceptable Use, so basically we just had to reword it so that it would actually follow suit with the 2 policies. And does that sound good?
Yes, the one suggestion that I made to Steve and Joel was, before we approve it, we might want to, in that first sentence, define what SIPA is, which is the Children's Internet Protection Act, and then from that point forward, that was on silent.
Back to Florida.
No, Clark Fork, Idaho, I bet my warranty's expired.
Yeah.
But I guess, then in that first sentence that we, where we use SIPA and then do a parentheses behind, just so we know what it is that we're defining on that. That would be the only other comment that I had on that.
And its first reading, like I say, we'll review it again before next month and bring it again next month, but there really wasn't any major change other than the cleaning up of language.
Bringing it up to date. Any other discussion on that policy? All right, on to then the second reading of policies. And the second reading is on JFCHA, alcohol and other drug use by students. We'll take these one at a time probably, and then take action, so.
If we go to the second page, Steve, there are no changes from the first page from last month. On the second page, then at the very top, scroll up just a little bit, we added middle. You know, you see at the end, the other one had middle school, had different. We just said middle and high school. The minimum of 3, the minimum of 5, that stayed the same. Down on number 3, the PAS, the passive alcohol sensor, is now the preliminary breath test, so it's the PBT. Just new wordage there. And if you go to the last page, you see we added number 5, administrative discretion may be applied. And I'll get to that in a second. Disciplinary sanctions for middle school, that was a separate, it said will serve in school. Basically, by putting number 5 in administrative discretion, we can't write a policy that's going to cover everything. But I think that gives us leeway then if it's the middle school and we feel it needs to be in school versus out of school, or vice versa, because of the circumstances, it gives us leeway to adjust as we need to. But again, we've spent at least 3 meetings, I think, administratively looking at this to tweak it to get where we feel needs to be. And then if this is adopted tonight, our policy books would be updated in these sections to match it as well.
Questions on the policy?
Under, the first violation where it says a formal chemical dependency assessment, we recommend it. I mean, I would assume that would be recommended, at all the stages of every, it's not said under B or C, but
Right.
I don't know.
I guess we're assuming
I
that
would assume.
if they had the first violation, that they've already gone through that step as far as the formal.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
That'd just be an assumption on my part, but
Yeah. That makes sense.
But if not, I also think the administrative discretion, if it's far enough
Right,
apart,
yeah.
gives us the ability to do that again. Good question.
Further questions or discussion? It's the pleasure of the board to deal with each policy separately, or you want to deal with both of them together? Okay. Then let's move on to the next policy, which is FC, relating to facilities capitalization program.
I'll let Mitch talk. As you remember, when we brought it in last month, we said it's probably gonna look a lot different when we come this month to get it condensed and cleaned up, so I'll let Mitch talk about it.
There's been a lot of changes in this last few years. There's not a lot of policy changes that have been done, so we went through and kind of reference, but we found some policies that have made changes to reference the law. We did a little kind of referencing on our own. Along the top, that $3 per thousand, that's not how the law reads anymore. In the middle of the I see 20 years, it doesn't read like that anymore. And then we had proposed adding that the capital A fund can be used for textbooks and instructional software, which it can, but this is a capitalization program, that would really fall under that, so we're recommending that language back out. The language then that we put in actually came from Sioux Falls. We stole from their handbook, but their top paragraph there is word for what theirs looked like, and it looked like it met the reference as well. And then we added a few more references because we made those changes. It's that, just make sure that as we go through any of these processes, we're following, and we have reference to laws, we need to make sure we are following.
And much of this change is a result of Blue Ribbon. Further questions?
So the new laws that are referenced down there just simply reflect that. That's what they do.
So anytime we go to have a bond sale or something like that, we would look up the law, follow the law. Instead of having it spelled exactly in policy, we would be just referring back to the law.
capital outlay may well be one of these that the laws continually change.
It's
as
a
we look at
moving
them.
target as we move forward.
Very definitely. Further questions or discussion there? Hearing none, then with the second reading of the two policies, the one on alcohol and other drug use by students and facilities capitalization program, I would entertain a motion that those be passed. Mrs. Schultz has the motion, Mr. Miller has the second. Further questions or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the passage of those signify by saying aye. And opposed, nay. Declare that they have passed. We have two executive sessions, one for personnel matters and the other for legal matters. We'll go into those unless Sue or Chuck have questions.